Welcome to Marianne's Bookshelf. Broom Hilda and the Pumpkin Patch Caper, Part 1 by M.D. Johnson. It just so happened that the witch Broom Hilda and her lovely cat Elroy were watching the news in the living room one day, when lo and behold, what should the news anchor say but that pumpkins have mysteriously gone missing at every single pumpkin patch in town. Unfortunately, no one has seen the pumpkins around. If you happen to know their whereabouts or what has happened to all the pumpkins, please don't hesitate to call our hotline, 1-800-PUMPKIN. Detectives and police are standing by. Wow, said Broom Hilda. I wonder what's going on. Meow, too, stated Elroy. Maybe we should investigate. Meow bee, replied Elroy. They both looked at each other in the moment rather inquisitively and knew they were both in complete agreement that they should. Go get my broom, Elroy, said Broom Hilda, to which Elroy did, along with a pen and notepad for interviews and a magnifying glass to search for clues. The two were off to the first pumpkin patch to question Farmer Bob. When Broom Hilda and Elroy interviewed Farmer Bob, he stated, I never saw anything like it. I went outside to tend to the pumpkin patch for the fall fest coming up, and all my pumpkins were gone. I didn't see anything. The only clue that I noticed was some footprints. Well, thank you, Farmer Bob. We will continue the search to solve this mystery. Broom Hilda and Elroy followed the footprints, which led to the next pumpkin patch, which belonged to the farmer, Juanita. When Broom Hilda and Elroy interviewed Farmer Juanita, she stated, I never saw anything like it. I went outside to set up some decorations for our fall fiesta fest coming up, and I noticed all my pumpkins in my pumpkin patch were missing. I didn't witness a thing, but the only clue that I did notice was a trace of straw left behind. Well, thank you, Farmer Juanita. We will continue the search to solve this mystery. Broom Hilda and Elroy then followed the trail of straw left behind, which led to the next pumpkin patch, which belonged to the farmer Otis. When Broom Hilda and Elroy interviewed Farmer Otis, he stated, I never saw anything like it. I went outside to set up the stage for our fall soul fest coming up, and I noticed every pumpkin in the patch was no longer there. I didn't see a thing, but there was one clue. There were bits of dried corn kernels left behind. Well, thank you, Farmer Otis. We will continue the search to solve this mystery. Broom Hilda and Elroy then followed the trail of dried corn kernels left behind, which led to the next pumpkin patch, which belonged to the farmer Lynn. When Broom Hilda and Elroy interviewed Farmer Lynn, she stated, I never saw anything like it. I went outside to set up the lanterns for our fall fortune fest coming up, and I noticed all my pumpkins were gone. I didn't see a thing. The only clue I found was a straw hat left behind. Well, thank you, Farmer Lynn. We will continue the search to solve this mystery. Broom Hilda and Elroy accepted the straw hat that was left behind and walked on to the next pumpkin patch, which belonged to the farmer Skyhawk. When Broom Hilda and Elroy interviewed Farmer Skyhawk, she stated, I never saw anything like it. I went outside to set up the campground for our Native American Fall Fest coming up, and I noticed all of the pumpkins in the pumpkin patch were no longer there. I didn't see anything except several scared crows. Well, thank you, Farmer Skyhawk. We will continue the search to solve this mystery. Broom Hilda and Elroy approached the scared crows, and since Broom Hilda, being a witch, had the ability to understand them, she asked what they were so afraid of. One crow fearfully pointed to a nightmarish-looking haunted house down a creepy trail in the distance. They were too afraid to speak. Well, thank you, dear Crow, replied Broom Hilda, and as she walked on to approach it, Elroy was reluctant, so he hopped on her head, where he always felt safest when frightened, and they advanced toward the nightmarishly haunted house down the creepy trail in the distance, for they desired nothing more than to solve the mystery of the missing pumpkins, so all the Fall Fest could proceed as planned. When they arrived at the dark and sinister, creepy haunted house, they knocked twice, but no one answered, so they knocked 2 more times, but still no answer. Broomhilda and Elroy decided not to look through the windows to see if anyone was home, since it was much too dark inside, so they both agreed to venture to the backyard of the haunted house. When they got to the backyard, they were ever so shocked to see so many pumpkins in great variety. They stretched for miles and miles, so very many. However, did the thief collect them all in such a great degree? As they took in the sight of all the missing pumpkins, Broomhilda and Elroy didn't seem to notice who or what was creeping up behind them in the vicinity. Elroy felt a timid and chilling sensation, as if something or someone was breathing down his furry little neck. His fur stood on edge as he got a bad case of goosebumps, and Broomhilda could soon tell as his claws clung to her head. Broomhilda turned around in a hurry, and Elroy screamed like a cat does in a flurry. Meow! What stood before them was ever so frightful. It explained all the clues for those who were insightful. It was a scarecrow, and boy was he scary, probably angry that Broomhilda and Elroy were trespassing and solved the mystery of the missing pumpkins. He was the culprit and the thief, and now that he was discovered, perhaps the pumpkins, the crows, and the farmers would have relief. Broomhilda didn't know what to say, and Elroy was too scared to do anything. "You caught me," stated the Scarecrow. "However did you find me?" he questioned in a fury. "We followed the clues," stated Broomhilda. "You left your straw hat and corn kernels, your footprints, your straw shedding, and you even frightened the crows. We simply followed the path, but we didn't know until you approached us at this very moment that it was you all along." "I can explain," stated the Scarecrow. "Well, please do," stated Broomhilda. "Every year at the Pumpkin Fest, everyone gathers at the pumpkin patch, but they always draw and carve out heinous and scary faces on the pumpkins to make jack-o'-lanterns. I never liked this, and wanted to save the pumpkins from being casted in such a negative fashion. Why can't the pumpkins have happy faces or become works of colorful and vibrant art?" Broomhilda and Elroy understood. His reasons were not malicious, and even made sense. "I understand," stated Broomhilda. "I think I might have the perfect solution." "Really?" questioned the Scarecrow gleefully. "Yes. I shall talk to all the farmers and let them know how you, and probably even the pumpkins, feel. Once they agree to do things differently when hosting their jack-o'-lantern contest this year, Elroy and I will be happy to help you return the pumpkins to each patch upon their guarantee that they will not report you to the authorities, and all will be forgiven." "That's an awesome idea. I wish I would have thought of that before," stated the Scarecrow. "Well, sometimes asking isn't always enough. I think you definitely made a point by taking or rescuing the pumpkins. I think when they see your intentions were good, all will be forgiven," replied Broomhilda. The two shook hands, and Broomhilda and Elroy went home with plans for the next day, to call a meeting with all the farmers: Farmer Bob, Farmer Juanita, Farmer Otis, Farmer Lynn, and Farmer Nighthawk. All the farmers came over to Broomhilda and Elroy's house, and Broomhilda explained all that happened the night before, and all that the thief had explained to her. They all were relieved that their crime was not malicious but heartfelt, and they all agreed that they should change tradition. Jack-o'-lanterns don't have to look scary and cruel. They could be happy and joyous and colorful works of art. They agreed not to turn the criminal into the police, as their pumpkins would be returned with Broom Hilda and Elroy's help. That very night, Broom Hilda and Elroy flew over to the Scarecrow's haunted house, and Broom Hilda did a magic spell that would return all the pumpkins to their homes safely and soundly. Elroy and Scarecrow watched in amazement as all the pumpkins were set aglow and magically disappeared as Broom Hilda chanted her spell. Bippity-boppity, pumpkins of the night, I send you home safe and sound. Return to your patch and all will be okay, for you have a fall fest to attend the very next day. To be continued. Check out Broom Hilda and the Pumpkin Patch Caper Part 2. If you enjoyed this book, please be sure to subscribe. Also check out other book hits by author M.D. Johnson starring Broom Hilda.